Remember when I was doing the rain roof? So I was building that monstrosity uphill from here. So the rain roof is just about, it's 72 feet long by about 40 feet tall. So it's just over 2,800 square feet. I picked that spot because I knew, based on just like looking at it, how the water was gonna flow on it. So our property kind of flows down this way here. And so the bottom gutter is on the right side over there. I don't think you can really see it from there. But a lot of people were just like, that's not gonna work. Right at the start of the monsoon season, we had about, so just going back 3 weeks, we had just about 3,000 gallons worth of water in the bottom of the tank. So I was just kind of estimating just by where the level was. And now all 4 tanks are pretty well completely full. If we got another 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch of rain, we'd be getting water coming out of our overflow pipe right there and into these basins. So in a matter of 3 weeks, we've captured about 7,000 gallons of water from the rain roof. So let me show you, just in case you don't believe me, I'll show you inside the tanks. All right, 2,500 gallons. We'll see when we look in this tank here, the water right at the top of the tank. Let me go over to the other one. Water is right at the top of the tank. This tank here, the water is just a slight little bit lower because the tank is elevation-wise just a little bit higher. And then there we go. Within the next few months, I'm gonna do a complete rainwater harvesting install video talking about all the different components. But very quickly, the rain roof's right up there. We've got 2 4-inch lines trenched underground, and the water from the rain roof goes right up into this tank here. Once this tank completely fills up, the overflow from it goes across this 4-inch pipe into these 3 tanks right here. So these 3 tanks, they're all interconnected down below here. This tank here, the shutoff valve that is connected to the other 3, it's shut off right now so that it just keeps filling up, and then the overflow goes into this tank right here. So on these back 2 tanks right here, you can see that I basically plugged the overflow so that when these tanks are getting to the point where they're gonna overflow, all the overflow is gonna be concentrated right in here, and then it's just gonna come out here right into these basins with the jujube tree, the fig tree, and our other jujube tree. So you'll also notice that we removed the shade cloth. The tree was actually reaching out beyond the shade cloth here to get more sun. So we're just like, well, we might as well remove it. And yeah, these trees are doing pretty well. So for all the people that left some very lovely comments on my rain roof videos, the system is working perfectly. It's actually working better than I thought. I didn't think that the tanks would fill up this quickly, but so far in July, we've gotten 4 inches of rain. And typically July and August, we get 3 inches of rain per month. So maybe in August, we'll only get maybe 2 or 3. So the reason why I'm making this video, our tanks are completely full. So if we get any more rain, the water is just gonna be going into these basins. So it's technically not being wasted, but it would be much better if we could actually store some of this water in some tanks. So that's what I got. I got another tank here. We're gonna be putting our new tank right under this tree here. So just on the other side of the fence. So it's gonna get some nice shade, and it's not always gonna be in the direct sun. The reason why I want another tank and why I wanted to put it up there is because from an elevation wise, it's above the level of the garden beds that are right behind the camera. It's really hard to see slightly sloping ground on camera. So the tank's gonna go up there, and it's gonna be above the level of the garden beds right down here. Something that I've wanted to experiment with for a while is using Oyas. So it's pronounced, or it's spelled O-L-L-A. And what they are basically, you bury clay pots that are sealed together, and then you gravity feed water into it, and it's a much more efficient way of watering garden beds. So that's something that I really want to experiment with. It's something, I've seen a few comments from people asking if I know about what Oyas are. And I certainly do, and I've got some really interesting kind of plans for what we're going to be doing with them in the sunken bed and also with the raised bed right there. So if I put that tank up there, we're going to have some extra storage capacity during the monsoon season. So if we have too much water, which is what we have right now, I can basically take the water from one of those tanks, pump it up to the other one, and then we can use that tank to gravity feed the oyas that are going to be in this raised bed. I'm not going to get into too many of the details about exactly how the oyas work and how the system is going to work entirely. It'll make much more sense when I start installing everything and you see how it all works. First things first, we'll get the tank in place. So I got a nice little electric pump so that we can transfer the water from these tanks into the other one. Look at that, just about an inch of water in the rain gauge. Beautiful. Something else that I plan on doing that a number of you guys have talked about is the tanks being in full sun, that there should be something covering it. So what I'm gonna do to help that, instead of putting like a roof over top of it, is I'm gonna start planting some native mesquite trees or maybe like an ash tree or something like that on this side of the tank, and maybe one on the other side as well, just to provide the tanks with a little bit of shade so that the water doesn't get too warm in the sun here. But let's finish this tank here. So before we can transfer water into the tank here and fill it up, we've got to put a shut-off valve on this fitting here. Something to keep in mind is if you have threaded joints like this, you always have to use seal thread tape. So this is called PTFE thread seal tape. So it basically seals up the threads here so that you're not going to have any leaks. The seal tape comes in two sizes. So you can get 1/2 inch size, and then you can also get 3/4 inch size. Since the threaded section is so wide on this, we can actually get away with using the 3/4 inch seal tape. Something that I also like to do is I like to put the seal tape on, and then I also put just a little bit of the PTFE just joint compound as well, just to make sure that we're not going to have any leaks. This fitting here is not under high pressure. I mean, it might have like a few PSI on it, but it's not like it's 30 or 50 or even 70 PSI. So it's probably a little bit overkill, but having a leaky tank or just having a leaky fitting or joint in general, just it kind of sucks, because I've had a few of those. Sometimes they can be tough to fix properly depending on what you have going on the other side of the fitting here. So there's a proper way of putting the seal tape on the threads here, whether you go clockwise or counterclockwise. I do forget time to time what is the proper way of doing it, because as you're tightening this in, you don't want the seal tape to be loosening up. So you want it to be going in the same way that you're turning. And I usually just double check on Google just to make sure that I'm putting it on the right way. All right guys, we are ready to go to pump some water up to the other tank here. So I've just got a little 1/4 horsepower submersible tank. It says it pumps like 1,300 gallons an hour, but since it has to pump up about 10-15 feet or so, it's probably more so 500 or 600 gallons per hour. Let's see how she goes. Also, keep in mind, this little pump, the electrical wire going to it, it seems like it might be something that you could use to pull the pump up. Never, ever do that. Even this little strap that's holding the wire to the pump, if you just use that to pull it up, then it could cut into the insulation on the wire and possibly short it out. So I would not do that. All right. All right, I can feel the pumps on the bottom there. The cord's 10 feet and the height of the tank is 8 feet, so we got an extra 2 feet sticking out, so that's good. Let's get the other end in the other tank there. So a cool little trick that I learned from the guy that's delivered water here. So from the water truck, there's a 4-inch kind of a fire hose that comes out of it, and then it goes up into a 4-inch PVC kind of jig like this. And what's really nice about this is that you can just hook it and just let it sit there, and you don't have to worry about this coming undone. So he uses that with the big 2,000 gallon water truck, and seems to work pretty well. So we're just gonna kind of mimic that here, and let's get this shit going. All right, put that right up like that. All right, we should be good to go. All right, let's plug this bad boy in. Just so you guys know, this extension cord is on a GFCI circuit. There we go. So while the tank is filling up, let's talk about some of the projects that I have coming up. So I know things have been a little bit kind of slow around the channel, but I do have a number of really cool projects coming up. So I'm going to be installing another culvert cistern. So that one there is going to be 4 feet in diameter, 6 feet tall, whereas the other one that we have here is 6 feet in diameter and 8 feet tall. And the other one is going to be capturing the water that comes off the shed roof. And then the same way that I'm doing a gravity-fed Oya irrigation system for the raised beds, I'm going to do the same thing with the sunken garden bed that we have over there, using the water from the other culvert there. So that's going to be a fun little project. I just got a 25-ton delivery of riprap rock, so that's at the end of the driveway, and I'm going to be using that for some of the rainwater harvesting earthworks that I'm going to be doing. So I've got some pretty cool ideas. I really think that I can do some type of eddy basin just off to the side of a wash in order to capture some of the water that's just going to be flowing on down. An eddy basin is something that Brad Lancaster in Tucson uses a lot, but he doesn't have washes because he lives in Tucson. He has basically he does curb cuts. So the street runoff, he basically captures a lot of the street runoff and funnels it into an eddy basin on his little property there. So I've got some really cool ideas for that. I'm also planning on doing a really cool culvert fire pit. So we're gonna put the fire pit kind of down over that way there. I know you can't really see it, but it's gonna be down over there. And what we really wanna do, what Hannah and I really wanna do, is we wanna get this area finished. So within the fencing area, we want to finish off all the rock that we haven't finished, specifically around the gray water basin here where all of our citrus trees are. We want to get everything covered with straw, and then we also want to get a bunch of native trees and some native shrubs and some cacti planted as well, just to kind of spruce this area up a little bit, and so it just doesn't look so sandy. And we'll get a lot of trees planted. We'll probably plant at least another 5 or 6 trees. So we'll do probably some desert willow. I don't know if we'll do any mesquite because we have so many freaking mesquites around here. If a Palo Verde will grow up here, we can do Palo Verde. We can't do an ironwood tree. We're just too high in elevation for it to survive up here. But we went to a really cool nursery in Tucson called Desert Survivors, and they primarily focus on trees and plants and cacti that are native to the area. Whereas like if you go to other nurseries in Tucson, it's typically just more, it's not necessarily things that are meant to be in this area, in the Sonoran Desert, in an arid climate. So that's going to be really cool. I really want to get this area finished. Then I can focus on the next huge project, which is going to be, I'm thinking it's going to be 85 by 40, a big ass garage that's going to be just probably about 150, 200 feet down that way there. And that's going to be a big project. So I want to get everything done here before I move on to the next one. And because I just really don't like having too many things going on at once. So a project here that I haven't finished, a project there that I haven't finished. What the hell are you doing over there, Dewey? I want to get this area pretty well nice and finished. I know nothing is truly ever finished, but I want it finished to the point where I feel satisfied with it. And right now it just kind of looks like a bit of a construction zone. And I want it to look more like this is our home, and it's a really kind of nice, cool area. Awesome, guys. I'm just going to chill out here until that water tank is filled, but I will catch you guys on the next video. Talk to you soon. Peace.